Hey, yeah, super important. I don't drive a Lamborghini. I don't read a book every day. I'm not selling a money-making course at the end of this video. I'm not a financial advisor. Definitely not a CPA. I am a Twitch streamer and a tech YouTuber. Not even like one of the really popular ones. I just made some responsible moves, took some calculated medium-sized risks, and that's it. Yeah, so this is always a fun topic just because I'm not a money YouTuber, I'm a tech YouTuber, but I made this video about 9 months ago talking about Twitch streamers and breaking down their revenue sources, more specifically my own revenue, which at the time added up to about $60,000 in revenue, very little of it actually being passive income. I made that video because I've been in a situation before where I had a single source of income and I watched that source disappear. This time around on this channel, I've made a very specific point to diversify my revenue sources to as many different places as I can. And I'd like you to see exactly how that's done so you can go out and you can do that yourself. And I got a very positive response on that video, which I'm super grateful for. Sharing your income on the internet, especially when it is above average like that, is a very vulnerable thing to do. So thank you. This specific source of passive income I'm talking about in this video is a copyright-free music playlist I created called Streambeats. And this accounts for that entire 150K that I mentioned in the title. That's not all my revenue, that is just Streambeats. So let me briefly explain to you guys how I built Streambeats, why it makes so much money, what I do with that massive amount of revenue. And then I'd like to share with you the 4 fundamental principles of business that I used to create something like this. Cool? All right, beginning of Streambeats. About a year ago, January of 2020, my entire revenue, including Twitch, YouTube, sponsorships, etc., added up to probably about $20,000 a month. So after living expenses, investing in equipment in my business, paying for an editor, I'd say I was probably left with anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a month of profit. And Streambeats was one of those ideas that I couldn't get out of my head. I knew that millions of streamers needed it, and the only other options available were either super inconvenient or they were expensive. So I knew if I could build it and I could make the music good, I could have thousands of streamers playing my music for hours on repeat behind their live streams. So I went to Fiverr, which is a freelance website that I previously used for things like logos. In fact, the logo of this channel was commissioned on Fiverr. And I hired some music producers to make a couple hundred tracks for me. Definitely the most any of them had been commissioned to do. It was a weird conversation. And a couple months later, I released the first set of Streambeats tracks, about 180 tracks on Spotify, Apple Music, all these different streaming platforms. And just to give you an idea of what the initial investment in this looked like. Spotify and these other music platforms take about 3 months to pay out. So from the time I commissioned the musicians to the time they released and finished the songs and I posted them, all the way to the time I got paid was actually about 5 months. 5 months from the moment I made my first initial investment all the way until I made my very first dollar. And within that 5 months, I'd say I probably invested $30,000 to $40,000. And that first payout, the payoff was there. It was about $5,000. In fact, I think it probably took another 4 months to finally break even on that project. And I think at that point, I'd spent about $50K. At this point, I believe I've spent a little over $100,000 on Streambeats. But even though Streambeats started off pretty small with 1,000 to 2,000 users a day, it grew pretty quickly to now it's getting about 30,000 users a day on Spotify alone. A couple massive spikes happened during the huge DMCA waves on Twitch when those record labels came out and started striking everybody. Don't think the record labels meant to help me as much as they actually did, so appreciate you guys. And as of making this video, there are currently over 600 tracks. I want to say 6 to 7 genres. This year, we're releasing 2 new releases every single month. So if you'd like to use Streambeats in any of your content, by the way, I'll leave links in the description below, or you can join the Streambeats Discord where all the links are, at least they're there until we finish streambeats.com. And if you're wondering how Streambeats actually makes money, most of Streambeats users are listening on Spotify or Apple Music, a streaming service they already pay for. And those streaming services pay the artists per play. On average, I get paid about 0.37 of a penny per play. So if you listen to 3 songs, I make 1 cent. That doesn't sound like a very great deal, and for most musicians, it's not. For your average musician, every daily listener will listen to about 1 to 2 songs a day. So if you're a musician, you have about 1,000 daily listeners, you'll probably get about 1,500 streams that day. Compare that to StreamBeats, which gets about 40 streams per listener, because typically streamers are playing this in the background behind their live streams for hours on end. So StreamBeats gets about 1.2 million streams per day. Multiply that by 0.0037, that makes $4,440. Add an extra 10% for publishing royalties, that makes $4,884, almost $5,000, which means every month it makes about $146,000. And now you know. The thing is that while there's an element of luck to this, there always is, by the way, every success has an element of luck to it. I believe that this kind of success is reproducible in any industry. There were 4 things specifically that I did that I believe were massive contributing factors to this. So let's go over those 4 things and why I believe those things helped me make $150,000 a month. Very first thing, if you've ever read any business book, you've probably heard the phrase, never spend your first dollar. This means that you take the money that you made from actively working, like at your job, that money's considered your first dollar. And instead of spending it on something you want, like most people do, you go and you invest it into something else that makes you more money. That money you made from that investment is called your second dollar. For me, what I considered my first dollar is the money I made from YouTube and Twitch, because this is what I was actively spending my time doing. Most people, after paying their bills and their living expenses, what they have left over, they spend on phone upgrades, maybe a car, fun things, nice dinners, whatever. I put 100% of what was left over into StreamBeats for months. Nowadays, the success has been so great that I'm fortunate enough that I don't actually spend my second dollar either. My money pipeline looks like this. Twitch, YouTube, sponsorships, those are my first dollar. So that money first goes back into itself, running the business, paying Sam, buying equipment, etc. What's left over goes into StreamBeats. And that money right there is our monthly budget for buying new music and increasing the library. None of this first dollar goes into my pocket. So when you subscribe to me on Twitch, 100% of what you're spending is going into helping me build StreamBeats. StreamBeats is the second dollar, and a good chunk of that, similar to the first dollar, goes right back into itself. So this money goes towards more innovative and risky things. Things like StreamBeats Originals that we're working on in-house right now. Things like the recording studio that we hired an award-winning studio designer to build for us so that we can create more music in-house. All the things I talked about in the Senpai HQ announcement video a couple weeks ago. And what's left over in here goes towards more long-term investments. Things like real estate investing, things like a record label, Senpai Records, that I'm trying to build right now. The revenue from real estate is what I consider my third dollar. And that goes towards paying off my rent, my car payment, all the things that I need to live. And then whatever's left over from that goes right back into more real estate investments. Not spending your first dollar sounds simple in principle, but it's definitely one of the most difficult and requires a lot of self-control, especially near the beginning when you don't have a lot of extra spending money and you're working really hard and you need to treat yourself to actually enjoy your day-to-day life. I totally get it. So let's move on to number 2. I recommend you take increasing risks as your flexibility for risk grows. Investing that original $50,000 like I did at the beginning of StreamBeats is probably not something a lot of you guys are capable of doing. And if you are, it would probably drain your entire life savings and would not be considered a responsible move. This YouTube channel had its original takeoff in December of 2018, a little over a year before I started investing in StreamBeats. Before the channel took off and started making money, my wife and I were living on about $50,000 a year. Plus we had a lot of debt left over from when we lived in LA, which is stupidly expensive. I didn't have any money to risk at the time, but I did have time. For like 3 years before this channel took off, I would work all day, and then at night I would write and film videos, and then I would get into bed and edit those videos and thumbnails until like 4 a.m. with the brightness turned all the way down low so Kenzie could fall asleep on me while I was editing. I rarely watched TV. I sacrificed a lot of sleep, and I don't think this channel made like a single dollar for 3 years. Time was the only thing I had to risk and sacrifice at the moment. Every person has a different level of income. but every single person has the exact same 24 hours in the day. As you start to find success and things start to grow, you'll also find that your wiggle room for larger risk also grows. Just take the risks that you can afford to. You don't have to take those massive risks that will leave you homeless if you fail. You just take the risks you can. The third thing I did, learn as much about an industry as possible to help you find opportunities. I had a very unique set of skills to create a business like this. Not only did I have a very extensive understanding of the streaming business, but I also had a pretty rich history in the music industry, especially on YouTube. I had a very successful music channel with my wife, and we had a very large history of understanding how copyright claims and copyright strikes work on YouTube. Starting a business like this is about, one, recognizing a hole in the industry and understanding if you're capable of filling it, and two, recognizing the trends and being able to see where the industry is going to go before anyone else does. The better you understand an industry, the easier it is to see the patterns. And number four, I recommend you surround yourself with very smart and inspiring people, and not just people in the same industry, people with very different skill sets than you do. For example, one of my favorite people to talk to is Devin Nash, who, even though we're in the same industry, I've worked very much on the content creator, the front end side, while he has worked very much on the back end with the numbers and the agencies. So it's really cool to have conversations from these two different directions and kind of understand where we meet in the middle. I've also got a good friend who's super experienced in real estate investing. And so that third dollar column I mentioned, that is something that he helps me with, and we're able to invest together. I've learned a ton about business strategies investing from that friend, even though he's in a completely different industry. And if you can't find people physically to hang out with, that's fine. Read some books, listen to some podcasts, take notes from other successful people in your field or in different fields. I highly recommend the How I Built This podcast on Spotify. It's very good. This video is about passive income, which is supposed to be something that makes you money that you don't have to invest time in, but that line can sometimes get a little blurry. Technically, I spend time and I work on Stream Beats. In fact, earlier today, I was writing some new guitar solos for the upcoming Stream Beats Originals album that's dropping next month. But I'm doing that not because I have to. I'm doing that because I'm passionate about it and I'm excited about what this business is doing. I want to see how far I can take it. If I wanted to back off like completely, just let it run passively, it would probably make a similar amount of revenue for the next 5 to 10 years until someone inevitably made a product that was better and booted me out. But at that point, I would have taken as much of that income possible and invested it in things like real estate, stuff that's truly passive income, and would just let me live comfortably the rest of my life. But while I enjoy being a YouTuber and a Twitch streamer and a musician and a gamer and all these things, at my core, what I enjoy most is being an entrepreneur. I love taking crazy risks. I love entertaining weird ideas that no one else is willing to think about. I love being the person that gets to decide where industries are going to go next. So I hope you found this interesting. Most importantly, I hope you found it helpful. And as always, happy streaming.
I am healing.
Hey, wait! Stop! No, don't shoot! Stop it! What?
Harris, you just ran me over.
No, I didn't.
Harris? Can you get me up?